Good morning. This is English 7 for Monday, March 23rd. Now, today we're going to talk about distinguishing adjectives and adverbs. We've talked about adjectives, we've talked about adverbs. Now we're going to mix them together and say, hey, which one are they? We're going to use everything you've been taught to bring it together, okay? So, first, let's remember, adjectives always describe a what? Adjectives describe nouns, I'm not sure you can see that very well, and pronouns. Adjectives describe nouns and pronouns. Adverbs describe verbs, adjectives, or another adverb. Adjectives have 5 questions. What are my 5 questions that an adjective answers? Adjectives tell us which one, what kind, how much, how many, or whose. Adjectives describe nouns and pronouns. They always tell us which one, what kind, how much, how many, or whose. Then we have adverbs. Adverbs describe the verb most commonly, but that also describes an adjective or another adverb. Adverbs tell us where, when, how often, to what extent, or I don't think you can see it on the bottom, or why. Now, let's look at page 172 together. Okay, we're going to circle our prepositional phrase. Okay, you can circle it. You can put parentheses around it if you want. That's what we're accustomed to doing. So either way, put parentheses or circle your prepositional phrase. Then we're going to decide, what does that prepositional phrase tell us about? Does it tell us about a noun or a pronoun? Or does it tell us about a verb, an adjective, or an adverb? Which question does it answer? Then we're going to know whether that prepositional phrase is an adjective phrase or is it an adverb phrase. So let's look at this together. Number 1, I put it on the board. The little girl in the purple jacket is my cousin. First of all, what's my prepositional phrase? Well, my prepositional phrase is in the purple jacket. What does in the purple jacket describe? It describes the girl in the purple jacket. Okay, couple of things. It tells me which one, which girl, the one in the purple jacket. So it answers the question, which one? Number 2, I said that it describes the word girl. And girl is a noun or a pronoun. It's a noun. Since it's a noun and the phrase tells me which one, I know that in the purple jacket is an adjective phrase. So you need to write adjective out in your blank in front of your sentence. Look at number 2. General Braddock's men cut a pathway through the forest. What's your prepositional phrase? Hopefully you know that it is through the forest. Through the forest tells me where. Where was this? Where did these men cut? Okay, where? Which word tells me where? That's an adverb question. So let's go to our sentence. Through the forest tells me where they cut, correctly. Okay, so through the forest tells me about cut. And cut is a verb. So my phrase, through the forest, is an adverb phrase. An adverb phrase. Remember, all of these are prepositional phrases. We're just deciding, is it an adjective phrase or is it an adverb phrase? Look at number 3. Pastures and fields beyond the mountains must be irrigated heavily. Okay, we have to first find our prepositional phrase, which is beyond the mountains. What does beyond the mountains tell us? Okay, it tells us which fields. The fields beyond the mountains. Now it's a compound subject, so it's also going to tell us about the pastures. Pastures and fields beyond the mountains. Let me remind you, Adjective phrases almost always come after the noun or pronoun that they describe. So when I saw this and said beyond the mountains, who or what was beyond the mountains? Fields and pastures. So does it tell me which fields and which pastures? Yes, it does. Which ones? Okay, so it's an adjective phrase. Let's look at your book. Number 4. The continental shelf extends several hundred miles underneath the ocean. What's the prepositional phrase? Underneath the ocean. What does underneath the ocean describe? It tells us where it extends. The continental shelf extends where? It extends underneath the ocean. So underneath the ocean, draw an arrow back to the verb extends. Since the word extends is a verb, that means that is an adverb phrase. Look at number 5. The deepest part of the ocean is the Challenger Deep. Your prepositional phrase is of the ocean. What does of the ocean describe? It describes part. And part is a noun. So that means of the ocean is an adjective phrase. Look at number 6. Christians should spread the gospel throughout the whole earth. Okay, what's the phrase? Throughout the whole earth. That's our prepositional phrase. What does throughout the whole earth describe? It describes should spread. We should spread where? Throughout the whole earth. So it's a prepositional phrase describing the verb should spread. Since it's describing a verb, is it an adjective or is it an adverb? It is an adverb. Good. Charles Lindbergh crossed the Atlantic in his single-engine plane. Your prepositional phrase is in his single-engine plane. What does in his single-engine plane describe? It tells us about crossed. He crossed how? In his single-engine plane. Since it describes crossed, and crossed is the verb, our phrase is an adverb. Good job. Through our troubles, we learn patience. Your prepositional phrase? Through our troubles. Through our troubles tells us when we learn. So through our troubles describes learn, telling us when we learn. So therefore it is an adverb, because remember our questions: where, when, how often, to what extent, or why tell us that this is an adverb. Continuing your exercise. A beautiful rainbow appeared across the distant horizon. What is your prepositional phrase? Across the distant horizon. Now, what does across the distant horizon tell us? It tells us where it appeared. So it describes the word appeared. Appeared. Is that a noun, a pronoun, a verb, an adjective, or another adverb? The word appeared is the verb. So therefore the phrase across the distant horizon is an adverb phrase. Again, we've had adverb phrases before and we've had adjective phrases before. Here we're just mixing them together, making sure we can tell which one is which. The tares among the wheat were finally detected. What is your prepositional phrase? Among the wheat. What does among the wheat tell us? It tells us which tares, which ones. The ones among the wheat. Now there might be other tares, but the ones among the wheat were finally detected. Okay, so it tells us which one, describing tares. And tares is a noun. And since it's a noun, that makes our phrase an adjective phrase. Look at number 11. Beneath the tree, a playful squirrel was collecting nuts. What's the prepositional phrase? Beneath the tree. What does beneath the tree tell us? It tells us where he's collecting nuts. Since it tells us where he was collecting, it is an adverb phrase. Number 12. The man on the shore was waving frantically. On the shore is our prepositional phrase. What does on the shore tell us? It tells us which man? The one on the shore, the man on the shore. Okay? So on the shore describes man. Therefore, it is an adjective or an adverb? It is an adjective. It's an adjective phrase. After the earthquake, the city was rebuilt. After the earthquake tells us when it was rebuilt. Since it tells us when, describes rebuilt, it is an adverb. The men of Jabesh Gilead recovered Saul's body. What is our prepositional phrase? Of Jabesh Gilead, and that describes the men. Which men? Okay, so it is an adjective phrase. Let's look at exercise B. They again want us to circle the prepositional phrase. And now, right above it, they want us to tell them, is it an adjective or is it an adverb? You're still going to have to decide what does it describe and what question does it answer. Though they're not asking you to draw the arrows and all of that, you still have to do those steps in order to do this correctly. Buffalo Bill, one of the most well-known frontiersmen, was born in Iowa in 1846. First prepositional phrase you see, of the most well-known frontiersmen. What does of the most well-known frontiersmen describe? It tells us about the one. One. Which one? Okay, of the most well-known frontiersmen. That phrase describes the pronoun one. And if it describes a pronoun, it is an adjective phrase. So write ADJ right above your circle. In that same sentence, we have two more prepositional phrases. The next one is in Iowa. In Iowa tells us where. Where was he born? So in Iowa is an adverb phrase. In 1846 tells us when. When was he born? In 1846. Since it tells us where and when, both of those phrases are adverb phrases. Number 2, during Bill's early years, his father died. The prepositional phrase is during Bill's early years. Okay, during Bill's early years tells us when his father died. Okay, since it tells us when, it is an adverb phrase. Look at number 3. Bill later became a writer for the Pony Express. Prepositional phrase, for the Pony Express. Okay, for the Pony Express describes what kind of writer was he. Since it describes the writer, for the Pony Express is an adjective phrase. Here's what I want you to do. We're going to come to the end of this video in just a moment. I want you to do 4 through 10. Once you've done 4 through 10, I want you to turn part 2 of our video back on because we're going to go over the answers. Don't cheat yourself. Don't say, oh, I'm just going to watch the video and mark them down as Mrs. Turner says them. Because when you take your test, when you take your quiz, you're going to need to know how to do this, okay? So come to the end of the video, do these questions, then watch part 2.